Hi creatives, it's Claire from Right Accounts, and this week I want to talk a little bit about how organisation can help to reduce the overwhelm that you experience when you're dealing with your business finances. Now, I'm going to say I know that business finances are a pretty overwhelming topic, especially if you aren't a finance fan and you're juggling all the other things that come with being a business owner, which is pretty much every business owner that I meet. But what I see happen is that we allow this overwhelm to take control. We allow our excuses to give us permission to prioritize everything else, including emptying the dishwasher. And this all works to our detriment because quickly there's a cycle that starts to happen. And it's a cycle I like to call the ooh cycle. It starts by being overwhelmed. That's the first O. Things like you're not sure what needs to be done. You're not sure the best way to do it, even once you figured out what needs to be done. And you aren't sure if you should use a software or you should have a process or if which software may be the best for you. So there's a lot of things, like even the really small things in the scheme, that are actually pretty overwhelming. And then it starts to spiral. So there's so many decisions, so many things to learn, and then your transactions start to build up. So an invoice or a sale here, a few expenses there, and suddenly before you realize it, a month has passed and you're out of date. That's the second O in the cycle. And then guess what? The spiral continues because you're still overwhelmed because there's so many things you aren't sure about, but now you're also overwhelmed because you're out of date. And that's bad, right? So the spiral continues. Maybe you pick up a few actions, but then something throws a spanner in the works, something doesn't reconcile, or you don't know how to account for, say, the business money that you used for a personal reason, or the money that you invested in the business, or how to pay back the things you purchased on your personal credit card. So these things then throw in more things that we have to learn, and we get even more overwhelmed. Now, it's not just finance that we experience this cycle in. So this is pretty much exactly what I was like as a teenager when it came to putting my clothes away. I would be overwhelmed with all the other things I wanted to do that were way more fun than putting my clothes away. Then I would move into overwhelmed because I was out of date and there were so many clothes that needed to be put away. Not just the clean ones, the ones that I'd taken out to try on and whatever. And then as well, just to add to the pain of it, I would then have to fold all the clothes because I'd left them on the floor and tried them on and not put anything away. So like, it's not just finance where we experience this overwhelm and out of date cycle. So can you spot some of the ooh cycle in other areas of your life and your business? Because we might want to spend some time addressing those as well. So what really helps from my perspective, what I think really helps is some organization, because that starts to reduce the overwhelm. And for me, it's a really easy step into slowing that cycle or even actually removing some of that cycle, particularly around the overwhelm. And there's a couple of reasons. So firstly, it removes some of the unknowns around being out of date. Like, you're not just faced with not knowing how many transactions you have to catch up on. So like, if you get into, say, organizing your paperwork, you feel more in control, your papers aren't scattered everywhere, and they're really just there waiting for you to pick a process or a software. That's much less overwhelming than having to pick a software and deal with the receipts as well. So secondly, it starts to remove some of the unknowns actually around the process itself. When you start organizing your thoughts around what you need and what to track, and you start learning about the systems that are available, it really starts to answer some of those questions you have around what system may work for you, so you can make that decision and you can move forward. So thirdly, removes more of the unknowns around the steps you need to take. So if you think about, like, you do a lot of research in this overwhelmed stage. So if you start to document it, you start to organize that research, you'll know where you saw that advice on which package is a good option, or you'll know where you saw that advice on how to deal with drawings and investments. And what that does is it reduces the overwhelm in having to replicate that, because you have the right information available to you and you know where it came from. So lastly, I would say that getting organized reduces overwhelm because it's a step into some of the confidence that you need. You can deal with this stuff. It's kind of like a vote for a financially savvy you. You are in control. And then what you can do is actually you can slowly extend that sphere of control, that feeling of control, into the next step or the next organization project or the next piece of the puzzle to bring things together. So you can deal with your paperwork. You can then start to get your accounts to balance and reconcile. You can start to do it while the information is still relevant, not 9 months later. But the key point that will help you in kind of really implementing this is to make it small and easy by doing it often. So 3 receipts, really easy to file. 2 transactions, really easy to categorize. 1 month of accounts, really easy to check. Like if you start thinking about, you have 40 receipts to process, that's overwhelming. You have, 3 months of bank statements to go through, to categorize and to check. That becomes overwhelming. Like if you take this back to my teenage years, I had to learn I can put away my clothes without it taking hours. But I had to retrain my brain into that. Because what I'd actually trained my brain with was it did take hours because I'd left everything until it was in a huge mess, and then I had to refold and put away probably like 50% of the clothes I owned. Whereas once I started doing it small and often, I learned it didn't take hours. And unfortunately for my mum, that probably didn't happen until I went to university. But if you're stuck in that overwhelm, out of date cycle, and you do need an intervention, you need guidance on how bringing everything together could work for you, then get in touch and I will share with you my wisdom on how you may be able to make it small, easy and achievable. Often just basically for a no obligation chat. I love learning about people's businesses, and then I will make some recommendations around where I think you may get the most impact for your efforts. And I do also have some free training around organization. So if you want to learn more about organizing your business finances, then grab the video training that has a link in the description. If you've enjoyed this video, I would love you to give me a thumbs up, or a comment if you have any questions about how organization could help your business finances. And you can always subscribe to the channel to get content like this on a weekly basis.